The Selfish Podcast acknowledges the traditional owners of the land and waters that this podcast is recorded on.
Are you barely holding it together? Are your relationships on the edge of collapse? Are you metaphorically drowning? Do you need to focus more on self and be selfish? Hey, beautiful people, it is Steph and Chloe here, your hosts of the Selfish Podcast, and welcome to today's episode. Hey, Chloe.
Hey, Steph.
How you going?
I'm doing good. How are you going?
I'm very good, thank you.
That's good.
Yeah.
What's been happening this week?
Oh, you tell me.
Well, just out of Mercury retrograde.
Okay.
Guess what happened?
So
During
Mercury,
during
okay.
Mercury retrograde.
Okay, as
sorry.
it was finishing up, it just had one last gift for you, did it?
Yeah.
What happened?
3 flat tires.
Oh.
Fucking 3 flat tires.
Same place?
Pretty much the same place.
Oh
the
my
2
goodness.
back tires.
Is there like a pile of nails
Rubber?
or something?
Yeah. Yeah. We were thinking, did someone have it out for me?
Oh goodness.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've had the punctures fixed, and the lovely mechanic assures me that it's fine and no one has it against me. There's no vendettas out
good.
there.
Okay. Good.
But still questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll be watching your back.
I think so.
Do you now know how to change a tyre?
Hell no.
So when Dad taught us, or he said, you're all going to know how to change a tyre when we were, 14 or 15 or whatnot. But I can tell you, I remember nothing. I don't think I could change a tyre to save my life.
I don't even think I could Google it and do it whilst I'm watching someone do
That's
it.
why I have RAA roadside assist.
Exactly. I pay for that every year. Do not fail. Highly recommend, ladies and men out there, get onto RAA.
Absolutely. And RAA, we are looking for podcast sponsorship. So
Come to us.
Yeah, you know how to reach us.
So that was intense.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Mercury retrograde is gone now.
It has. It's finished, yeah. Was it the 17th? Something like that, maybe. Yeah. That means for us, I think you would all remember that we talked about the re's.
Yeah.
So revisit, all the rethink, reassess, all of those things. Yeah. So now it's this kind of time to let all of the things that potentially dropped in during that pause of Mercury retrograde, let them sink in, and then we can take action on anything that's kind of dropped in. So it's it's a cool time now because we can start moving forward with a bit more easeful flow, I guess. Yeah. Do you want me to jump into some other things that is going on around us?
Please do.
The cosmos?
Please do.
So we also had a new moon in Taurus last week. We should be feeling a lot more light and just that, again, that forward kind of action. Taurus, as we've talked about before, is like super grounded. But the thing is, the other new moon that we had in Aries, that was with the eclipse season. So it was really, new moons were meant to like set intentions. So last week's new moon in Taurus was this like really beautiful time to reset intentions and work with the moon in the way that we're meant to.
Okay.
So hopefully we have a good couple of weeks leading up until the full moon.
Yeah, so question. So it's a new moon in Taurus because we're still in Taurus? Or because we just, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you always have like a new moon and a full moon in the sign of the zodiac.
Okay, gotcha.
I think. No, I'm pretty sure. No, that is absolutely right.
You would.
Yeah. That makes sense. But it was a little bit different in Aries season because we had 2 new moons that fell within Aries season, which is a little bit unusual. Usually there's just one.
Yep. Okay.
And there's one other thing that I wanted to just share with everyone too. It's actually pretty cool. Jupiter, the planet that is like all about abundance, actually moved from Aries into Taurus last week, and it will stay in Taurus for a year. So it's kind of about when Jupiter's in Taurus, it encourages us to slow down and nurture ourselves and create like a solid foundation of stability around like abundance, wealth, prosperity. And so anything that we were working on last year, that in Aries, that's kind of the first sign of the zodiac. So that's always like gung-ho and kind of like going about things, like starting things.
Well, that's when we decided to start this.
Exactly, yeah. And so now it's, so anything that you kind of initiated or started in when Jupiter was in Aries, now we're kind of flowing into this like more stable, grounded kind of state that we can like take action, but it's not so like intense, I guess. So you can kind of really like settle in and start to nurture and what's the word I'm kind of thinking of? Just like think about your goals and passions and how you want to approach them in a stable and steady way.
Yeah, gotcha. So we're not just, going uphill. We're now going, okay, this is like almost plateauing or stabilizing.
Stabilizing,
so
grounding in and
becoming a real
and
thing.
sowing the seeds maybe is a way that we think about it.
And for people who may not be completely up to speed with the different signs of the zodiac, Aries is like what, mid-March to mid-April?
Yes.
Yeah. So
like kind of most of April.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so we've had Taurus and now just on the 21st, we moved out of Taurus into Gemini season. So I don't know if you have many Geminis around you, but
I do have a few Gemini friends, but tell me about them because
Yeah, so Gemini's like the sign is like the twin. So they're super playful, curious, very intelligent, always in their head. So they can be overthinkers.
Okay.
Yeah. So
have you got any Gemini in you?
I do. My moon is in Gemini. So when we go over which we will at some point, I think I've spoken about the 3 kind of heavy hitters or big hitters in our chart. So we always look at the sun, the moon, and our rising sign. So I've got my moon in Gemini.
Okay.
So I kind of resonate with this sign a little bit. I kind of always used to think that it was a bit of a shitty sign. Sorry to all my friends out there.
Sorry
but
to
now
all the Geminis
I am. So I can't, now I really like it.
So I had a look at some famous Geminis.
Oh, did you?
So back this time last year, so I was hosting a radio show on the local station.
Yeah.
And I used to do all of my shows around different themes, and I did a Gemini themed show when we went into Gemini season. And so I only played music by Geminis or music that Geminis would like to listen to, according to Google. And so some famous Geminis, we've got Kanye West.
Ooh.
We've got Tupac, it's a Gemini. Helena Bonham Carter.
Who's that?
She is an actress. She's played Bellatrix Lestrange in Harry Potter. She's in a lot of the Tim Burton movies alongside Johnny Depp, who's also a Gemini. Donald Trump is a Gemini. Morgan Freeman, Marilyn Monroe, Sir Ian McKellen, who was Gandalf in Lord of the Rings.
This is so interesting. There's many like actors and actresses that you're saying. And musicians.
That's because they're famous, right? So I looked up famous Geminis.
So, Chloe.
But yes, that's a very good observation.
Thanks. But the interesting thing is though, Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, and Mercury is all about communication.
Yeah, okay.
So it kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Musicians and actors, actresses potentially have Gemini in their
chart
placements. Yeah, cool. So there we go. So there's a few things happening. In the cosmos, but some cool stuff. And we should be a bit more settled. It should be a bit easier.
Yeah, that is cool. Now, Chloe, I finished off my Paris book.
Great.
And I've started a new book, which is called Mythos. Now, I may have chosen this because my favourite hummus, my favourite dip is hummus, and it's a specific brand called Mythos hummus. And you can't get it down here. I've been to every single store down here. I've been to the Coles, the Foodland, the Woolworths, the other, independent IGAs across, multiple different jurisdictions with where we live, and there's no Mythos hummus available
Can I just say,
Yes.
You cracked me up. I did not know what you were going to start talking about then. And I was like, is she going to start talking about hummus? Yep, she's going there.
I love it. So, like a lot of my friends know that if they come visit us, they need to bring me mythos hummus. No other hummus will do. Anyway, so this book is called Mythos. It's not about hummus. It's about the Greek myths retold. And I'm listening to it as an audiobook, and it's narrated by Stephen Fry, who did all of the Harry Potter books.
Awesome.
So I'm not sure if you've listened to the Harry Potter audiobooks. I'm a massive Harry Potter audiobook fan. My husband and I listened to them when we were driving around Europe, and it's always been like a bit of a nostalgic, read or listen for us. So whenever, if shit's hitting the fan or things are getting real or we just need to escape, we love listening to a bit of Has Potter on the audiobook. So it's really interesting because sometimes when I'm not fully concentrating on the Greek myth that he's talking through, I start to think back to Harry Potter and think that he's narrating Harry Potter. So it's a bit of, it's doing my mind a little bit, but I've only just started, so I'll share more in the weeks to come. But Mythos, the Greek myths retold.
I think I've got Greek heritage, so I'm going to really like to hear about this.
Well, I'll share more.
Can't wait.
I've only just started listening to it, and so far it's been really cool. Very different to my Paris Hilton memoir.
Yeah, you're really changing it up there.
But I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
I've actually been listening to a new book too.
I thought you were going to say I actually really like hummus too. No,
I do actually, and I better try this mythos when I come around to your place for a wine and hummus one night.
Yeah,
can't wait.
I'm out at the moment, but I'll go back.
Well,
to
I've
town.
written it down. I've noted it down. So if I'm in town, I'll look out for it.
Thank you.
For you.
Anyway, sorry, you've started a new book.
Well, so just like on the back of our episode last week with the psilocybin and the mushroom journey, so you would have remembered when I spoke about I saw like the timber floor morph into like smaller wolves and then turned into like a massive wolf face.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, this was literally just yesterday. I was just thinking about that and like what a wolf means. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll just Google that. Anyway, it comes up and it actually signifies like a bear and a wolf have like quite a feminine association. And so I was like, oh, so funny, like all the females that were coming into me and then I see a wolf. But and it's all about trust and intuitive abilities.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I just happened to then this other thing dropped in. It was like, oh, there's a book about wolves and the women who run with the wolves.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started listening to that yesterday and it's only like a 2-hour audiobook. I always do it on the 1.25 just so it's a bit faster and you can get through. Do you do that?
No.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. I think I want to get through things quicker. But yeah, I've started to listen to that and it's so fascinating because it's all just talking about the feminine and us like stepping into our power more. I was just like, oh.
It's all about the feminine and stepping into our power more because I drink it 1.5 sweet.
I don't know. I was just like, okay, that's just integrated for me and dropped in. And so, yep, I'm on my path, guys.
That's awesome. That is excellent.
So yeah, there's a little bit of more of my journey download.
Yeah, have any other things dropped?
No, that's the main thing. Which, yeah, I still haven't listened back to the audio, like to the audio of it, which I probably should. But I'll get to that.
So I was listening to the audio.
Of what?
Of our last few episodes.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the audio for the
music.
music.
I thought you meant our episodes. Yeah, okay, yeah, you should listen to the music.
I should listen to that. Yeah, okay, but tell me about what you were going to say.
No, so it's been interesting. So this whole journey has been really interesting because obviously we are sitting down. The first few episodes we recorded a while ago.
Yeah.
And then I don't really think I ever thought anyone would listen. And we've now released 3 episodes. We've had a really great response. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And also thank you, everyone
so much.
Who's, contacted us because so many people have reached out.
It's been so lovely to hear, just to get the feedback from everyone and just that it's, resonating, I think. Yeah. It's great.
Agree. But it is really can be challenging to listen to yourself back. And I think you notice some of those little auditory tics and maybe some words that you overuse. And we've just recently gotten a AI to help us transcribe our episodes because that helps when we're, putting them out there and all of that kind of stuff. And so
Can I just stop you here?
Yeah.
I'm feeling really nervous about what you're going to say now.
Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous.
Are you going to tell me, what are you going to do?
No, not nervous at all, because I was sort of picking on myself. So, because I noticed that I often say the same word over and over again.
Same.
And I probably need to look at broadening my vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
But when we do the transcription, it tells us, it gives like a bit of a word cloud. I haven't shared this with you yet, Chloe, but I will after this. It gives you a word cloud of the words that you've been using the most. So as one could imagine in our Reiki episode, Reiki was used a lot.
Of course.
In the craniosacral therapy, Mother's Day and craniosacral and all of those topics that we talked about were used a little bit more. But there were also some other words that seemed to come up quite a bit in all 3 episodes. One of them, which I think I'm the main offender for, was absolutely. Absolutely. It's sort of my go-to response. So absolutely, and I think most of these were from me, was 6 times in the first episode and 5 times in the following 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Hey, beautiful people. Makes
we use
sense.
that a lot.
But we do beautiful a lot.
Yeah.
5 times in Reiki, 6 times in cranio, 6 times in psilocybin, which again I thought wasn't too bad because we can have 1 or 2 of them would be our intro.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm not too astounded by this. I thought that we would have been up there. Do you know?
I thought absolutely might have been 10, 11 times because I feel when I was listening back to it, all I could hear was absolutely.
Do you feel like now we're going to make our listeners just think about words that we use too often?
Oh, maybe, but I suppose it's not the intention.
Sorry, guys.
Love we use quite a lot as well, 565. And are there any words that you thought you used?
I feel like I say epic a lot and wild and...
So I did look up epic for you. You don't say epic at all in the first 2 episodes.
Oh, I just said it in psilocybin.
It got 3.
We got 3. Oh, that's not
3
too
uses,
many.
which again is
in
not
an
too
hour.
bad. It's not too bad. But I suppose my point is that when I was listening to it, I was super critical of... all of this stuff and then actually looking at the stats, we were saying absolutely 6 times over, 43 minutes.
It's probably not that bad.
Not that bad. Not that bad. There are some synonyms for absolutely, completely, totally, utterly, perfectly, entirely, wholly, fully,
Well,
quite.
let's try to use them today, hey?
Definitely, certainly. Beyond. So anyway.
Okay. Beyond. Well, that's beyond.
Oh, that's beyond. Anyway. Just some food for thought. But also, I think we all just need to not be so hard on ourselves.
Totally. Absolutely.
We are who we are.
Absolutely.
And we are. Absolutely. And we make no excuses. So anyway, just after that little rant, should we pull a card?
We absolutely should.
Okay, we absolutely. What deck are we using today?
Do you want me to shuffle?
Absolutely.
Are you pulling?
I didn't actually,
did you mean to say that?
I didn't mean to do that.
This is going to be beyond. All right, here we go. So we are pulling a card for all of you beautiful people out there. We're going to set the intention for the week, and we're using a tarot.
Set all of our intention for the week, yeah?
Everyone's
okay.
Yeah, universal.
Okay.
So I think I was just a bit too close to the mic then. Sorry if that got in your ears, everybody. But what have we got
Should I
coming
open
up?
my eyes?
Just pull one.
Okay.
It's going to be the right one. Don't worry.
Okay. 9 of Wands.
Oh, have we had that before?
No, we had another one of Wands. Oh, goodness. Okay. So the words here say perseverance, resilience, testing of faith, the final push, boundaries, last stand, grit, close to success, fatigue.
Okay. So 9 of Wands is a man weary and exhausted from his battles, but he is persevering with hope and determination. Someone who has undergone many trials, but through determination and will, they will be able to overcome them. Cool. Did you pull it in the upright? So it was like looking upright, not down.
He was looking up at me.
So if you were thinking about this card with regard to love, it can be love requiring hard work. Love isn't easy. Self-improvement. If it's about career, it could be exhaustion from work, project nearly complete and feeling somewhat drained. If it's about finances, it can be financial pressure, economic duress, or temporary pressure. But I think it kind of signifies that it's it's only like that temporary for
Okay.
me stands out.
Yep.
Do you think?
Yeah.
And that perseverance that, we've just come out of a really challenging time, like if we're talking about the cosmos.
Yeah.
Like now moving forward, we've persevered that time and now moving forward, hopefully into some lighter moments.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, that resonated with me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yep. I think that it probably will have for many of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't look like a guy. To me, and maybe this is just, but it looks like an elf almost from Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings elf. Love that.
Holding a bunny or something. Okay. Lovely.
All right, moving right along. Let's dive into what we're chatting about today. Do you want to
What is that?
We're going to dive into mediums, psychic mediums. So do you want to share a little bit about, Steph and I actually have seen the same psychic medium who is fantastic.
Yes.
And do you want to share a little bit about what they do?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, didn't mean to do that, but I'm just going to go with it. So before we go into this particular person, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the different types of intuition and the different types of psychic.
Okay.
So there are 4 clairs of intuition. So we've got clairaudience, which is voices coming to you. We've got clairvoyance, which is images. We've got clairsentience, which is recognizing feelings. And I feel like I've got a little bit of this clairsentience. And then claircognizance, which is knowing. So when you do talk to a psychic or a medium or an intuitive, they'll often use multiple clairs. But just I think it's important to understand that there's, multiple ways of knowing.
And do you think, so I've had like some tarot done before as well, and that was actually online, and it came through too about like some clairs for me as well. Do you think that we all have some of these abilities, but yet we're not tapped into them? What are your thoughts on that?
I think we do.
Me too.
Yeah, so I really think we do. And I actually watched an episode of, it was another Netflix show, again, we're open to sponsorship Netflix, but it was one of Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, and it talked about intuition and intuitives and how we've all got this innate ability.
Yeah.
And often, younger kids will come out with some weird shit because they're not.
Well, they're more tapped in.
Yeah, they're more tapped in, but they're also, more tapped in.
They're not closed off, I think.
Yeah.
They're more open to
feeling and just and then sharing. They're not. They don't have those blocks that other people may have. I've just lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No. And they were talking about, so there's this lady, they all went to this workshop to try and actually hone those abilities.
Oh, cool.
Even more. So, I think we all have them.
Yeah.
I think people have them to varying degrees of skill. Like, someone might be a really fast runner. Other people just might not have that genetic makeup to be a good runner as well.
Totally
but with
agree.
training, we can all get to a certain level.
Yeah, I think we can hone the skills if we feel that is something that sits with us, then we can focus on it.
Yeah.
And make it deepen, I guess.
Yep. So I contacted the psychic or medium that we both saw and sort of said, hey, can you just let me know how to describe you?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people in this space have got, as I said, there's different types of clairs, there's different types of doing things. So I'm just going to read out what she said to me. So she said, a brief description of what I do. I've kind of dropped the label of spiritual or psychic. I feel more like I do energetic remote viewing. I tap directly into a universal energetic source and pull information directly. I'm directed purely by the person I'm reading for. I encourage my clients to tell me what topic they want to know. Then I connect to that source and pull the information needed. I can read timelines and also which timeline is illuminated the most at the time of reading. I believe in heart intelligence as my primary source. And she also said she doesn't have any strong belief into any religion or belief system, and she's a good believer in evolving as she goes. And then I said, would it be through the universal energetic source that you tap into other people from the other side? And she said people who have lived and passed over still hold their energetic pattern.
Cool.
So she taps into that energetic pattern and converses directly.
I just got the biggest shiver. I love it.
Yeah, so you actually put me onto her.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a bit about your experience first?
Yeah, sure. So I've been to see this particular intuitive, is that what she's, intuitive?
Yeah.
Yeah, intuitive twice now. So back last year, I reckon it was maybe around, something like September, October maybe. And then I actually have revisited her again in March, I think.
And did you go for a specific
I did,
reason?
yeah. The first one, well, even the second two, like, I'm just going to be really, really honest. I was just feeling really out of alignment in my relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with Adam, and just unable to really kind of. You know how she talked about like the heart intelligence? I think that's really important. I think me potentially knowing a lot about myself from a human design perspective, but also from the astrology side too, with my Gemini moon that we've just chatted about, I really felt like I was up in my head a lot of the time, like just kind of like overthinking, you know, not feeling. So not kind of tapping into that heart intelligence and like, what is my body saying? And so it was interesting. She brought that up a lot. She's like, Chloe, you need to get out of your head and get back into your heart. So that was a real big thing that kind of came out of the first one. But yeah, went there initially just to like talk through relationships and you know, is this the right one for me, you know? And
I think it's a question a lot of us ask ourselves.
Yeah. And not from a sense of like it's all like doom and gloom or whatever. It was just more like kind of I just felt like I just needed a little bit of guidance outside of myself. Mm-hmm. But the more, you know, you learn about yourself, your answers are within. I've got the answers. Yeah. But I just was needing some external support.
And were you hoping to tap into a particular person, or was it more tapping into your higher self? Or
well, she did both. So she tapped into my higher self, and also my my nana came through as well. And she, I wish I had the sheet. So what I love about this intuitive is that she like has like an A4 piece of paper, and you'll know this too, Steph. Steph's laughing at me, smiling at me. And she like writes your name in the middle, and then there's like, it's like a mind map, isn't it? And then just all these like lines and stars and hearts and circles like come out with like random words. And she gives that to you at the end, which is really cool. I've never recorded mine as well. This is another thing. Lots of people record theirs, but I haven't. I just take away my little A4 sheet and kind of have that as a little reminder. But she tapped into my nana and she tapped into my higher self, and kind of just, it was a lot about trusting myself and trusting my own intuition and those little like nudges that I get within my body, and not being afraid to listen to those. But not only that, you kind of, the session always evolves. I don't know if you found this too, Steph, but it wasn't, you know, it doesn't just stick to relationships. Like we then talked about work, and we talked about, you know, like different things that at that point in time back in September, I was feeling this kind of like urge to start something new, you know. And so at that time I didn't know about the podcast, like, you know, but I was like, there's something creative coming up. And she was like, you need to go with that. Like it'll drop in. She couldn't tell me what it was, you know, whether it's, you know, about, I had been considering like coaching and stuff like that, which that will happen down the track. And she was like, yes, that's like part of it, but there's something else. So it was really interesting, because then when I went back in March, I said to her about the podcast, and she was like, yes. And it was like really positive, like really cool. So I find that although, yes, we have all the answers within us, it's nice sometimes just to have that extra little handhold and, you know, that higher self that's coming down just to kind of give you a little like, you know, you're on the right path.
Yeah. I think that's beautifully put. And so you've seen her twice. So is this something that you'll regularly integrate into your,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I reckon as my like healing journey for sure. I think well, for one, I really connect with this in particular intuitive. I find that she is just super fascinating and so spot on that it's kind of a bit like, it's a bit eerily great.
And how did you find her?
How did I find her? I think just word of mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, again, you know, with a lot of the stuff that we talk about, word of mouth.
Yeah, that's the kind of the way, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the way.
I think, though, I just booked this kinesiologist coming up and that was online as well. So maybe there is a bit of a scope to find people if you resonate with their, like, Instagrams and socials and stuff. Anyway, we can talk about that another time. But I think word of mouth. And one other thing that she did, she has done the timeline stuff with me, which I find super fascinating.
So what's that, Chloe?
So she can kind of like tap in and see kind of like how long things might go for, or like interesting thing with Adam and myself, she can't see that timeline, which is fascinating to me, and it kind of makes me a little bit nervous. But also she said like in 2 years' time she tapped into Valley. So which is Valley's my youngest boy and he's nearly 3, and she was quite astounded that she could tap into Val's higher self. Yeah. Because usually, well, this is what she explained to me, usually they can tap into your firstborn quite easily. But the second is a little bit more challenging. I don't know if it's the age or whatever, but she was like, Val is like super tapped in.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, she's like, whoa, she just kept saying that, whoa. And I was like, what's going on? You know, what does that mean? And she's like, he's just showing me that, in a couple of years' time, there's going to be a lot of changes. There's going to be coming your way and you'll be having to make lots of changes. And essentially kind of pointing me into the direction of like Adam and I will have lots of changes, whether it's like we go on a caravanning adventure or we, you know, like, so before Val starts school, we can expect maybe some big changes to happen, which it's exciting. Like I kind of felt when she was talking about it, it was coming from Val and it was exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's as far as she could get with that one. But I don't know. It's cool. I'm excited to see what might evolve there.
Very cool. And you've got, so you'll schedule to see her in another 6 months or so?
6 to 12 months, I think. I might hold out a little bit longer. I think maybe there is too, like, you can kind of, what's that, like, the straws. What's that analogy? Like when you kind of like
clutching at
straws. Thank you. You know, like I think too, you could maybe go too often and that probably wouldn't be the best thing. So I feel like for me, maybe lengthening it out a bit is the way to go.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
But overall, like, definitely something that I'm going to continue on my journey.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you also saw someone online.
I did. I saw another guy actually online, and that was a bit weird. But again, he was recommended from a friend. He was in the States, I think, but his whole intuitive medium is more around business. So we talked a lot about business and companies and kind of like where, if I'm on the right path or whether things need to change. And so this was back a couple of years ago now. And once again, I didn't record it. I wish I kind of had, but I did take notes. I need to go back over them to see whether things have like the trajectory has kind of has fallen into place. But his was really insightful from the business kind of perspective and kind of just being like, he kept asking me one thing. He was like, what do you love to do? And at the time I was like, fuck, I don't know. Like, I love yoga.
How long ago was this?
Like 2 years,
okay.
I reckon. He said he kept coming back to, and I still don't do this in my day-to-day life, but he's like, what brings you joy? What brings you joy? He just kept asking that. I was like, I don't know what brings me joy. So I don't know. Yeah, that's just like fallen back into my lap, that I think that's probably something I need to look at and bring more joy into my life and things that really make me happy. But this morning coming here, I was really happy.
Yep.
I was really happy to be coming and doing this. So I think this is a joyful part of my life for me right now.
Yeah, I agree with
So
that.
enough about me. We've talked about me. I've talked about myself long enough. Can you share a little bit about your experience with this intuitive?
Yeah, sure. So I first heard about the intuitive through yourself, Chloe, and I think you were sharing with me about some of your September experiences, and I thought, oh, this is someone I wanted to go to, and I did really want to go to a psychic or an intuitive part of my as part of my journey, but I didn't want to search for someone. I sort of thought, you know what, it will come to me when the time is right.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I'd gone any earlier, I might have been a bit desperate. And I think, you know, I wanted to be really cautious because especially if, you know, you've lost someone and you're wanting to see someone in particular, you know, this can be a pretty damaging experience if you don't go to someone who is, you know, truly plugged in. So I think, you know, I wanted to make sure that I took my time and I didn't want to go when I was super vulnerable in those early.
You mentioned that too to me. You were like, I think that, you know, 6 months ago I wouldn't have been ready, but right now I'm feeling ready. And then I think you text me the next week and you're like, I'm in. I'm going to see her.
I'm going to see her.
And I was like, wow, like that's really courageous.
Yeah. And so it was just before Arthur's second birthday because I knew that the birthday would be pretty triggering in a lot of ways. So I thought, you know what, I want to really talk to him before that. When I went into to the intuitives practice rooms, I really had no idea what to expect because I'd done a few tarot readings before. One was in a bar. It was like as you entered the bar, they had like a tarot reader there, so super informal. The other one was a tarot reader in a cafe. So I hadn't really been to like a more formal setting. And she was sort of sitting across from me and she said, who do you want to tap into? And so it wasn't a completely cold read in terms of I did give her some information around, well, I want to talk to my son and sort of, you know, mentioned a little bit about him. And then she sort of asked me a few other questions about important people in my life. And then one of the first things that she did say was, Freddie's not Arthur. Just to be really clear. So my second son is not, because a few people had said, oh, maybe he'll come back to you. And I was like, that's really not helpful for you to say stuff like that to me. So it wasn't him, and I already knew that. So I knew that they were separate. But he said, but Arthur guided Freddie to you, which is also something that I truly believed in.
So beautiful.
And that's helped me get through things thinking, you know what, Arthur will find that, you know, his brother or sister and he'll pick them for us and send them to us. So I was like, yep, I completely agree with that. And actually it was interesting because at the end of the session she said, Steph, you know all this stuff. You know all this stuff and you've known it all, and I'm just, you know, reiterating that. And that's really what it felt like. Everything that she said, I was like, yep, that really is what I feel.
And how did that make you feel hearing that?
Well, I think it was trust myself and trust my intuition and trust you know, because a big thing was I wanted to let go of this anger. So it had just been Christmas. I felt like maybe, you know, and we had Freddie, and I felt like Freddie was acknowledged a lot, but Arthur wasn't. And that really made me angry. I was that protective mother bear going, well, what about my other son? And so I was getting really angry. And she sort of said, Steph, you know, Arthur doesn't want you to be angry. You're not serving yourself. You're not serving him. But for me, it was, how do you show that love and protection when that person's not physically here with you? And so that was and the anger felt good because anger is a feeling. Anger is swift. Anger is movement. It's a high vibration.
Rage, isn't it?
Exactly. And sorrow is really boring and sad. And it's just like that dank, you know, emotion that just sits over you and it's stagnant, whereas anger's got energy, and it really felt good to sort of release like those like lightning strikes down. So it was an emotion that you know, felt sort of almost good to clear, but my poor husband, you know, was actually getting a lot of that anger from me. And I thought, I can't live like this. I can't live like this. I don't want also for that to manifest throughout the rest of my life. And so we talked a lot about that anger. And she said to me, Steph, this is a spiritual bitch slap. And they're the words I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And from that moment.
And it couldn't come from anybody.
No, because I really felt like I was directly talking to Arthur.
Yeah.
And just the kinds of comments that she made, it was a really beautiful experience. And I think I was there for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was really talking to him and, through the intuitive, she was saying, try and be more playful, try and be more like this. Because if you don't get out of this, you will become a narcissist and you will push everyone away from you. And that's not what you want to be doing. So I think that this was probably the most powerful thing that I've done across all of the different modalities and treatments and all of that kind of stuff. And I do feel like it set me in a different trajectory.
Wow.
In terms of just being, Arthur knows I love him. He will always be my son. He'll always be my firstborn. He'll always be this. He's always, I always acknowledge him. My husband always acknowledges him. He feeds into every single thought I have in my life and every single thing I do in my life. And he's always going to be there. And anyone who's important to us acknowledges him as well and loves him. And, he'll always be part of their lives in a really, I hope, meaningful way.
Absolutely.
And this sort of just cemented that. And one of the things she also said is stop asking for like party tricks. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Oh.
Because whenever I saw like an Arthur streak, I'm like, that's Arthur. Whenever I saw a feather, like he comes to me in birds, I think, And she's like, yeah, he can do that. And he can still do the party tricks, but he can do so much more. He can sort of be a guide for your life. And there was a book that she said, I highly recommend you read it, which is called The Alchemist.
Writing that down.
Yes, we'll put it in the show notes. I've actually got my copy over here. And The Alchemist is talking about, this guy who it's basically his journey and how he follows omens. And she's like, Arthur can be an omen for you and help guide you. And I think ever since that interaction I had, and she also talked to my higher self, to Hugh's higher self, we did some looking at the different timelines because again it's a bit freaky in a way that you could think like everything's happening at the same time. She's like, I can tap into your past, I can tap into your future. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then also if you look into a lot of science fiction, they also talk about this. So, and it's something that comes up in Reiki, it came up. And, it's like, if you think about food, just a little segue. So you think about different types of like dumplings. So Asians have got a dumpling, Italians have got like all different cultures have got the same kind of food but in different ways. Or like noodles and pasta are essentially the same thing but done slightly differently. I think when I'm thinking through the modalities that we're doing, they're all sort of same but different.
Totally.
They all sort of are all about the energy and the universal energy. They're all about the different timelines and timeframes and all that. Anyway, a bit of a
I love that. I think that's really good to make mention of though, because it kind of indicates that anything that you kind of do on this path will essentially come back to a similar thing, Yeah, and we all are working with these different practitioners around improving, I don't know if that's the right word, or enhancing maybe our energy.
Yep.
Because if we're on a higher vibration, then,
at the end of the day, we're all just atoms, aren't we?
We are. We are.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But we are.
Yeah, we are. We are. So, after my session, I felt, just going back to that, felt a lot closer to Arthur. I talk a lot more to him. And I feel like, everything that was said, I knew. So now I trust a lot more with what's going on. And I do ask him, for signs and for this and for that. And I do feel like, when I'm going down that right path, I do get omens from him. So, it's sort of, I feel protected and it's, I feel so much more connected with him. But also I feel like if I hadn't done that, I would still be, just seething in that anger. And the anger still comes at times, but I'm now sort of looking at it with a little bit of curiosity to go, well, what's underneath this anger? And I know that my boy, knows that I love him and he doesn't need me and I don't need me to be caught in that loop. Anger doesn't help me. It doesn't help, people in my life either. So that was, that spiritual bitch slap really
it woke you up a bit.
Yeah, it did. It was like, whoa, as soon as she said that, I had
like
a physical
jolt.
response. Yeah, physical jolt.
That's awesome.
And just
did you walk
so much
out
sense.
like thinking, just like, I loved how you started talking about like the room, and I know we've spoken about that in other episodes, like what it was like to enter the room. For me, I felt like quite anxious when I first walked into the room, but then her energy is very grounding. Once again, I mean, you guys are going to understand here that I cry all the time, and so I was in tears.
Crying's
again.
so good for your nervous system.
So good, and I like crying. I don't mind it.
No, it's good. I think we should embrace crying.
Yeah, so good. So I was in tears in not both the sessions, the first one, but then when I've walked out both times, there is like an immense sense of calmness. Did you feel that? Like clarity or like more purpose?
Yeah, I walked out smiling. So when I walked in, it was interesting because there was a blowfly in the room.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, we need to get this blowfly out of here because it was just – but it was interesting because it sort of cracked the energy and it was almost put a bit of a playfulness almost in the air, like of that, baby playful energy. So, so it did, but I was super nervous going in and I thought, oh my goodness, what's going to come out of this? But when I left, it was interesting because I said, okay, is there like a number or is there something that I should look out for that's Arthur? And she said the number 22. The number 22. And as I drove away from her house, I was going to Big W to buy The Alchemist. So I thought, yep, I'll go there. And I was pulling my car onto the main road and the car in front of me had the number plate 22.
Crazy.
And I was like, and I texted her straight away. I was like, oh, the car 22. And then a few days later, I was at my parents' house and I was sitting in Hugh and I were just about to go to Sydney to catch up with his brother and sister-in-law, and he's got quite a few aunties and uncles there. And anyway, I was sitting down in Mum and Dad's like formal sitting room, so don't spend heaps of time in there. And I was sitting on the couch and I just felt something in the couch cushion and I picked it out and it was a plane ticket on the 22nd of August to Sydney. And I said, Mum, it was my mum's plane ticket. And I said, when did you last go to Sydney? Like, she'd always been using it as a bookmark or something. She's like, I don't even remember the last time I went there. And I was like, okay, hey, Arthur. Like,
wow.
And there was a number of things like that that happened. And I was like, you cheeky little boy, like, what are we doing now? And it was just
I love that.
Straight away, it was just like, yep, boom, boom, boom. And yeah, I see I see a lot of 22s, but also there's a lot of other ways that we communicate.
Yeah. Oh, love that. Thank you for sharing that.
It was just
gorgeous.
It was just straight away. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, he's here.
Yeah. No, he is. Like, he really is. And, I feel a lot closer to him. And one other thing she did say, she said, Steph, he's not a baby. Like, he doesn't come across as a baby energy. And I think that too. And I was thinking, Freddie's not a baby. Like, I think he doesn't. He really doesn't
got an old soul.
Yeah. So I definitely had a very profound experience.
Yes, I would say the same on both occasions. Yeah.
And she also said to me, like, stop thinking and just follow your heart.
Yeah. So the heart intelligence comes through again. Yeah. It's so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we do. It's within us. We just have to allow ourselves to feel it, I think, and not go to the head all the time, because the head overtakes the heart, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Agree. In terms of cost, if we just want to...
Oh, yeah. $90.
Yeah. Yep.
Which was which is amazing, I think.
Yeah,
for what you get out of it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So about an hour session, hour and a half. My first one was an hour and a half too, and then the second one was an hour.
Yep.
But I think just, the sense of, super profound.
Yeah.
I don't have another word for
But
it,
also
actually.
I think it just really reiterated like to trust myself and trust. And it's hard to trust when you can't, it's a thing that you don't necessarily see. But yeah, it made me feel a lot more confident in my abilities. And she said that I was a bit psychic too, which I believe I am.
I feel that. I've got that too. She said that I was sitting there and I had like big butterfly wings behind me at one point, which I was like,
How cool is that?
I love that. I'll go with that.
Cool is that?
Yeah.
So
Cool.
the one thing that we did talk about was our higher self.
Yeah.
So there's sort of different levels that she can tap into. How did you view your higher self? Like, did you have a picture in your head, an image in your head of your higher self?
I don't know. Do you?
A little bit. Like, I sort of saw her as like dressed in gold.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but like very sort of put together.
Got it all
almost
together.
Almost like a queen, figure.
Maybe, didn't we pull a card that was like super...
Was it the Empress?
Empress, maybe?
No.
I feel like there was another one early on. Maybe we might have deleted the episode.
Yeah, I think that was in one of our deleted files. But yeah, we did pull a card that looked exactly like my higher self.
Yeah.
And almost like my past life person that came through.
Yeah, when you were laying down.
Yeah, that's almost maybe that's my higher self.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, you know what?
Mic drop.
Yeah. There we go.
It's all dropping in.
Oh,
very cool. Was there anything else that we wanted to share about our experience with our intuitive? Or I think there was one thing actually that just quickly she said, and it just stuck with me. She said that there are no coincidences. So she was like, if you bang your elbow, like last night, me and Adam's going overseas soon, and it's been a real like shit show getting all of the stuff sorted for him to go away, like paying stuff, like international transfers, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, like, I was just like super annoyed and pissed off that we couldn't get in, like, nothing has been flowing for us like to get this trip organised. And I've been pissed off too that he can't do it on his own, and he keeps asking me about it because I've got my own shit to sort out, mate.
Yeah,
anyway.
And when you're away, I'm going to have to deal with all this shit
I've got
as well.
two weeks with two little boys, yeah. Whilst you're off surfing, have fun, Adam. No, I'm excited for him to go. But it was interesting because I was all pissed off and like very infuriated, and I was like putting my clothes away, like really like in a really like annoyed fashion last night, like kind of like getting huffy and whatever. And then I like really like got my elbow so hard on right at the end, and I was like, fuck, and like really pissed off. But then Rani came into my head, she's like, there's no coincidences. And then I was like, yeah, I just needed something like that just to be like, shake this shit off. Like, you don't need to be going to bed feeling like this, Chloe.
No.
Like,
my dad always said, never let the sun set on your anger.
Dad.
I think the nuns used to say that to him. So never let the sun set on your anger. It's a good one. But maybe that's with your, car tire. No such thing as coincidence.
Oh, absolutely not. I think too, like there was one morning I walked out and I was meant to be at a meeting at one of the early learning centres, and there was a flat tire in front of me, and I was like, walked back in, I was like, boys, just enjoy some more quiet time. We had some puzzles, and it was like about slowing down.
Yep.
I feel like.
Yeah. We can just be.
Yeah. Can just be. Just allow it and go with the flow, and everything will work out as it's meant to. Yeah.
And I think just before when you were talking about, Adzi going away and how, there's a bit of that frustration, yet you're happy that he's going. I mean, I think it's also interesting. I think sometimes we limit ourselves to having one emotion at a time, and you can hold multiple emotions at the same time, and two things can both be true.
Yes.
And, you can be a little bit agitated that he's going and that you're having to do things with him. You can be happy that he's going and happy that he's looking after himself and taking that time out for himself.
Totally.
You can be like, we can hold multiple emotions and multiple feelings at the same time.
I love that.
So, and I think that's something that I've learned is that duality, and it's sometimes more than two, but you can, two things can both be true, even though they're quite converse. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, so much enlightenment.
So shall we finish on a little do you want to lead us in a...
Shall we just do some breathing to finish off with?
Absolutely.
All right. So wherever you are, beautiful people, I want you to ground your feet onto the floor. Close down your eyes. Take a nice long inhale through your nose and let it out your mouth. One more, in through the nose and out through the mouth. We are wishing you all a beautiful week ahead and hoping that the card that we pulled, that you're persevering, you're getting through, things are getting easier, and we can't wait to see you next week.
And just a quick reminder that you can find us on Instagram. We're at the.selfishpodcast. We are just, two gals trying to share our stories. So we really appreciate your support. If you do enjoy listening to the podcast, please subscribe, please rate it on your podcast app, and please let your friends know. Just send them a link and encourage them to have a listen. We really appreciate it. Can't wait to chat to you next week. In the meantime, get out there, put yourself first, and be selfish. Bye.
Bye, guys.